Hey, what's up? Listen, I'm part of the problem here. From what I wrote last night, Mediger, I think, may be pumping this story up for the sake of entertainment or just to be a troll or something like that. This story is fucked. There is something here. It's very fishy. But there's two things you have to understand before we go forward. There's something called raw data the police collect, like FBI, a police department, something like that. Everything that is, and essentially what we're reading when you read the FBI files are raw data. That doesn't mean they've been proven. That just means that's the information they collected. Let me give you an example. If one of those people said they shot JFK, it would be in that report. Just because you're reading the raw data doesn't mean it's fact. It just means that's what the police collected. One of the problems I have with what Mediger was doing is he was talking about the satanic panic of the 80s, which I lived through and remember and saw victims of it. A lot of crap. Ozzy Osbourne was getting kids to kill themselves. The satanic panic was a incident in the United States that put people in jail. You can go look up the Memphis 3 in the early 90s, where these kids were locked up for 19 years over a crime they didn't commit over the satanic panic. And he was, I gotta say, irresponsibly saying that this proves that it was real. It doesn't. What you saw in there with the underground tunnels in the McMartin school, which was the sort of beginning of the satanic panic, and I have to admit, I have no explanation why the Finders case was linked in this report to the McMartin school. I have no idea why that was there. There's no explanation. That's a question. It's not proof. I have no idea what it was connected. Apparently, in 1983, there was a woman who was schizophrenic. She was found to be schizophrenic and died 3 years later, that said her child was taken down into a dungeon under the McMartin school, and he was molested by this guy, Buckley McMartin, the Buckley McMartin family that owned it. And this became the longest trial in United States history. They found no evidence that these children were molested at the time. None. Zero, zip. In fact, one of the children, you can look it up, and claimed that Chuck Norris came down there and molested him. Now, after the McMartin family was completely and totally destroyed, the lawyer said, you want to dig up the yard before I said, because he actually received the property. I guess he was doing the family a favor. They were just, because they owed him legal bills after the longest trial in U.S. history. And some people dug it up. Now, according to that FBI file, they found animal bones. They found drawn pentagrams inside the McMartin school, which I think had been closed at that point since 1982, before both you guys were born. And they found those things down there. You might be able to arrest those people because it would be considered double jeopardy. All of them are found innocent because they couldn't find any evidence. And the tactic they used, how they used the kids to testify against them, was considered, I think they changed the laws over it. And again, the kids were they said they were flying away on weather balloons to go slaughter goats. According to that raw data, that FBI data that we saw, they found they claimed they found animal bones and pentagrams down there. Here's the thing, maybe, and it just didn't make the report, they found it after the fact. Now, they did find a tunnel down there. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not saying that's not suspicious, and I'm not saying that shouldn't be looked into. And
what do you mean after the fact, though?
Well, the school closed since 83. They found the tunnel didn't get dug up till the early 90s. It's a 10-year difference. Anything could have happened. Anything could be put there at that point. Who the fuck knows? The real crime is, how come there was no investigation after that? Here's the thing. What Mediger was doing last night, and it was basically saying, those people were right. There was no such thing as a satanic panic. What you need to do is you need to watch the video that he displayed in the beginning, which is really, really, really well done. And it gets to the real questions. And what I think what Mediger is trying to do to make it more entertaining is blow up the Satanism side. The Satanism stuff is probably a red herring. There may have been child trafficking. This may be a situation where the FBI and all these organizations got together and said, holy shit, we fucked up in 87. We should have felt this, and now it's going to be on 48 hours, which is, I don't know if that shows on the States anymore. But to sit there and say that the satanic panic was now a real thing, I gotta say it's fucking irresponsible. Again, I want to make this abundantly clear. There's something here. There's no doubt. Don't fall for the movie-like red herring. And the other thing I've discovered, and I'm not even done studying this stuff, is if they were going to nail these people, there's almost no way. The leader of the cult's dead, and it was a legitimate cult called the Finders. And it appears that some of the members of the Finders, if this was going on, they were probably actually unaware of any criminality. Here's the thing. They didn't have enough evidence to arrest anybody. That's why nobody got arrested. Did the CIA and the Customs Agency and the FBI cover it up? Maybe, because the Tallahassee Police Department said that 2 of these kids were molested. This is something that Mediger left out as well. One One of the kids had a problem with sphincter control, which was consistent with being sodomized. Another girl had vaginal penetration. They thought that may have been by fingers, right? And then all of a sudden, all these agencies said, we got nothing on these kids. We got nothing on this cult, and they let everybody go. Some of the kids, and you don't know which, were put in foster care. The other kids were returned to people who were claiming their families. It's totally irresponsible. It's beyond fucking stupid. What the fuck was the FBI thinking? Why is the CIA involved? Why was Customs involved? Why was Tallahassee Police Department working hard on this? And it was just all of a sudden, there's no problem here. Yeah, that's true. But to sit there and say, because we found tunnels, they found tunnels in Washington, D.C., and they weren't able to put this together. This could be, I don't know for sure, raw data that was written down. This could be people went down there and they, me and you can go in the same movie and see two different things. So the idea that this proves that the Satanic Panic was real and we had a bunch of people running around in the 80s committing acts of Satanism, and then all of a sudden it just died in the 90s because the phenomenon just kind of died. It went away. I think he's just trying to be super entertaining. I don't think there's much to it. But as far as
so your main issue is him like kind of overplaying.
Yes, he overplayed the Satanism part for sure. But here's the thing: like I acknowledge that the McMartin report, the McMartin, the underground stuff, that's completely bizarre, right? But here's the thing: like you don't know. Some FBI agents somewhere, they go in there, they say all this stuff. Yeah, we saw the abandoned bones. Another group goes down there and says we didn't find shit. And the case just gets cold and stale after a while because they don't have any direct evidence. They don't know when the bones were placed there. I mean, Jesus. I mean, we used to go in abandoned buildings all the time. If I lived next to McMartin building, I could see myself as a teenager breaking in there and doing weird shit, or even leaving weird shit.
Yeah, but they found like fucking like goat bone, like all kind, like pentagrams drawn on the ground and shit. Stuff,
and some of it is consistent with what the kids supposedly testified to. Yeah. When did they find it? Who was there? Like, there's no details other than we found a tunnel. There's nothing there.
That's like pretty damning on its own, don't you think?
No, not for a complete case. Why wasn't there arrest? I mean, it's completely unbelievable. Again, this goes back to raw data. All we're doing is we're getting a dump of redacted information. Another thing is, where are these kids? I mean, not one has come forward and said that they were molested back then. They would all be around my age. The thing is, like, what Medicare found is questions. He did not find the answer. He found more questions, and questions that probably need to be found. But at the end of the day, these tunnels, we don't know, because this was just a massive information dump of raw information that creates legitimate questions. Again, I'm going to get you the fucking video. You should have watched this before you did the show. This video that Medicare put this on his stream. He actually played the very beginning of this video. This takes a rational look at the whole situation. And believe me, without Medicare, it's completely fucking creepy as is. He didn't need to spice it up at all. He didn't need to say that the Satanic Panic was a real thing. I mean, I saw people in there. It's like, I guess Pizzagate's real now too. Oh, come on. It's getting a little ridiculous, but it's called.
What about the pictures that they found of kids slaughtering goats in robes, as someone points out in the chat?
There's no doubt that that's weird, but I have no answer for the fact that they allowed those kids to go back to the cult. I have no answer for that. But the slaughtering goats, what does that have to do? There is no such thing as fucking organized Satanism outside of Anton LaVey's Church of Satan, a guy who would turn people in for talking crazy stuff. I mean, this Satanism thing, it's like nobody can pin these people down. They're ghosts. It's mostly Satanism is usually aligned with urban legend. I mean, you mean these guys got away with this stuff for years and years and years? Here, I'm going to send you. You need to watch this video, and this is the one that Medicare cited, and it's still a mystery. The whole thing's a fucking mystery, but they don't have the answers. They even say at the end, we don't have the answer. The real points of this, and there was the guy had a Hispanic last name. I want to say he's Martinez. He was an investigator for the FBI, and he said he found a bunch of crazy shit, and he still says he stands by the report. And during the investigation for this documentary, he stopped talking with the documentary maker, and apparently his career is ruined after he gave this report. It is really weird what happened to this guy. There's no doubt about it. There is mystery here. There is intrigue. There might be a smoking gun, but the idea that, okay, Satanic Panic was all real. Well, what about the kids in West Memphis, Tennessee, that weren't even at the scene of the crime, and they were convicted because the Satanism expert that testified against them was asked, how are these kids able to kill these children, not get any blood or dirt on them? And in court in West Memphis, he said that's because they probably drank the blood of the children. That's what put those kids in jail for 20 years. So I want to give you an idea how insane this shit was in the 80s.
Right. I mean, I understand we got like a few loony cases.
That's the thing he was. But he was like, yeah, I guess those people. I guess it was just the Satanic Panic, guys. Yeah, I guess people were just going over nothing. The woman that started the McMartin case died 3 years later. She died of alcoholism and schizophrenia, and she's pronounced it as schizophrenia in 86. I mean, Chuck Norris was supposedly fingered as one of the people that was molesting people under there. It's utterly fucking insane.
Right,
I think
but in those cases, I'm assuming those are loony cases with no evidence or data to support any of this.
But that case was connected to the Finders case. That case was connected to the Finders case. That was the McMartin preschool. Okay. That's the thing you got to ask yourself. Why is the McMartin case in this case file for the Finders not this proves that they're a Satanist? Like I said, there's more questions than answers. You got to be asking yourself, like, all right, we have this Finders cult, okay? A cult where no one has ever been arrested. Right? A cult where they found these freaking children and they returned them to, apparently the parents, some were put into foster care and the guys that were found with them were let go. All right. And then about quarter way down the FBI files, which I read, the McMartin case is in there. The question is, why is the McMartin case in here? There's no connection. They just say they found tunnels on the McMartin case and there's animal bones and pentagrams down there. Why? Who? What? Where? When? How? I mean, it's like, there's no credit. It's like everybody's doing this thing where they like, well, it's gotta be that then. When was the last group of Satanists arrested in the last 50 fucking years in the United States for doing these type of crimes? Is this common? Is there an international network here? I mean, Medicare behaved as if he solved the case. And if anything, he shined light on an old case that needs investigated. That's my problem with this.
I don't know if he said he had like any answers or whatever. He was just...
No, but he kept sarcastically... I know what you mean. No, he didn't say he had any answer, but he was being tricky about it. What he was doing is like, well, it's like what he does with Epstein. Well, I guess he just did a backflip over the thing and did a somersault and broke his neck. Well, I guess there's just there was nothing to the Satan thing, and he says it really sarcastically. So you say, yeah, I guess they're covering it up. It's kind of a trick.
Medicare kind of does that with everything. Like, yeah,
that's true. So I mean, he can't be taken literally, then, can he?
Yeah, I mean, basically, how I saw the stream is he saw this information and he's like, "Yo, guys, check this shit out. Isn't this crazy?" That's
yes,
it. He's not providing any answers. He
does interject and say, I guess this is there was nothing to see here. There was nothing to go around. It's the idea. He's pumping up the audience. And look, there's a lot here. What you guys should do. It's an hour. I don't know if you can do it. You should watch that fucking documentary tonight, and it'll actually put the real mystery in perspective, rather than Medicare trying to get everybody fucking riled up over nothing. And by the way, I was drinking last night. I was watching this thing. I'm like, holy fucking shit. I got sober. I looked some things up. I watched the rest of the documentary and I said, yeah, there's a legitimate mystery here. It doesn't prove that the Satanic Panic was real. And by the way, the Satanic Panic was spread outside the United States all the way to Zealand.
Yeah, but was he trying to make a case that all of that was real, or was he just taking jabs at people who were so quick to dismiss the whole movement and then kind of show one case where it was correct?
But the movement, just because they found a raw data file inside the FBI file that was related to Finders doesn't fucking prove
right. But did he go into the stream to disprove this whole 80s myth of the Satanic? Or not? No,
he actually, if he did anything, he went to promote it.
Right, but was he making jabs, or was he trying to be see, guys, there's truth in this?
I don't know. It's like a comedian. To me, that's a bullshit tactic. It's like a comedian that makes a political statement, and when he's called out on it, it's like, just jokes. That's what it sounds like to me.
I took it as jokes when I listened to it.
Yeah, it certainly was, and certainly entertaining. He's one of the most entertaining guys on the internet. But you're seeing this thing right now. I even had a guy write to me, "This is real." No. We have questions. We don't have answers. You were even saying in the beginning of this podcast, "Isn't it obvious? We have tunnels here. We have this here. We have raw data." You were saying that in the beginning. So yeah, that was the desired effect. Is not to look at this critically and say, "Holy shit," and holy shit. By the way, a little thing on Epstein. I don't know if Epstein killed himself or not. My brother works for the government. Okay, and you guys can look this up. There was a Russian hockey coach back in around 2011-12 that killed himself in a prison. My brother came upon this. Okay, there's a way to apparently hang yourself where if you tie a rope around your neck and you don't even have to be that far off the ground, and you roll off the bed. And once you roll off the bed, that's it. You're done. You cannot roll back. And that's the way this Russian killed himself. He's in federal prison. My brother found him. So my point is, it's not impossible that Jeffrey Epstein actually did kill himself. It's suspicious, just like this case. But to sit there and act like
the camera's malfunctioning, the guards,
all that. Yeah, but here's the thing. You have no idea how incompetent the government is. I work for the government. My brother works for the government too. But here's the thing. If you don't find lack of evidence doesn't show that there is evidence. You still have to look at this critically. Now, again, here's I'm going to leave you on this. There's something to the Finders case. There's something very fucked up. My guess is they let these people go because they're completely fucking incompetent. And when 48 Hours was going to do a show or 93, all those agencies panicked. They completely panicked. Hey, look, kids get moved around all the time. People do sell slaves. They do sell sex slaves. Kids do get involved in that. There's been a problem with this in the Middle East and Europe and apparently in the United States too. But you have to have evidence. You can't just say, well, this must be what it appears to be.
Yeah, of course.
That's not critical thinking. That's not critical thinking.
That's why it's called a conspiracy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, then it's a conspiracy. A conspiracy theory doesn't really have much evidence.
Yeah, but
to back
they have
it up.
evidence. You're just questioning like the evidence. Like, when was this collected?
Well, and then McMartin's case, yeah. But here's the thing. Problem with this case, there's so much to it. It's deep. There's plenty of places to go. McMartin thing might not have anything to do with it. McMartin, maybe they were investigating the fucking tunnels in Washington D.C. and they put the McMartin case to see if there was a connection, and they just left it in the reports, realizing there's no connection. You don't know what conclusions the FBI came to. All you have is the raw data. It's one of the reasons. You remember a couple months ago when Trump was pissing and moaning that he didn't want the entire Russia report out. You know why he didn't want that? Because there's probably raw data in there that people will take literally. If somebody said that Trump told me that he murdered somebody in 1982, that would be in the fucking report. Now, what happens is Robert Mueller looks at that. He sees there's no evidence in there. It stays in the report, but they don't follow it up because it's bullshit. That's raw data. And that's why Trump didn't want the Democrats getting a hold of it, because they would selectively leak some of it, because he probably was accused of crimes that Mueller couldn't prove or find any evidence for. So all we're seeing is the raw data, redacted raw data at that. My point is, nobody solved the case. This is really weird. Watch this thing. There's no evidence that the Satanic Panic thing was a legit thing now. None, zero, zip. There's no organizations of Satanists out there. That's mad. That's Alex Jones shit. But I think what he was giving it a very clever Alex Jones treatment. There's a mystery here, but let's not get sidetracked with the madness. And part of it's my fault because I made that tweet last. I've been drinking. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, you said you were drinking in the tweet, so obviously.
Yeah, I did. I was like, holy shit! I couldn't believe.
Are inclined to take it with a grain of salt at that point, right?
Yeah. Maybe I did that. Maybe I did that just in case I woke up and say, God, this is bullshit. But it's not
that was
bullshit.
A smart move. I should do that on all of my tweets, dude. Being like, by the way, I'm drunk.
It's not bullshit. There's a mystery here, but it's a mystery like a missing person. It's not a mystery that we have this fucking. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be pressure on the FBI to probably reopen the investigation and maybe unredact some of those names and put some pressure on them and say, what exactly did you see here? What's going on? And another thing is, a lot of the investigators 30 years ago, a lot of people involved with this are dead. They're fucking dead. Those 6 kids would be in their mid-40s now. You know, who the fuck knows? And another thing is, like, I was a little surprised that he left the fact that here's the mystery. The Tallahassee Police Department said those kids were molested and they handed them back. But we don't know which kids they handed back because later in that episode, it says some of them went into foster care. So I don't fucking know. Medicare sit there and said all of them went back. That's not true, according to the video that he gave us. I'm saying, like, you got to take him with a grain of salt, too. I'm not saying he's a fucking liar. He's an entertainer. He's a troll. He's fucking one of the most intriguing people on the internet, hands down. But you cannot take him as a news source or literally.
I mean, you can't really take most things, like, literally and definitively if you're trying to think about stuff critically. But
I wonder if people quote me sometimes when I'm making an insane statement and leave all the context out of it, or the fact that I'm trying to say something over the top and they use that as an evidence in one of their arguments. I wonder about that all the time. But I think like, whereas I'm a little more obvious, I think Medicare might be a little more deceptive, you know. And I think if I was going to get argument,
he's just trying to put on a good show. I don't think he's
put on a good show. And what he would say is, look, we have the data. Yeah, but it's raw data. You have to put the data in context. If I could simplify this, look, we saw his last.
The context looks awful though.
Yeah, but when you're trying to present a story like this, you're not going to.
No, not the context of what's in there.
To this, like, he's
not the context that what's with the context of the actual thing is, where is this coming from? Why was this dismissed? Why wasn't this followed up? There may be rational reasons for it, or it may be a cover-up. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You can't assume the worst and say that the United States government is involved in child trafficking just by looking at that. And here we have the evidence because the FBI recorded it in 1993. That's not critical thinking.
Well, there's always more discussion to be had on that topic, especially like with how big it is. But Medicare didn't have like all the time in the world to talk about absolutely everything. I mean, he's going to follow this up on Halloween with another stream. So like,
yeah, I know.
Maybe he'll talk about it there.
He's in the YouTube business. He's going to make YouTube money, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I already have people in my. I have people on my timeline. I heard it early in this podcast. This is the evidence of fucking Satanist activity, and it's to the highest reaches of government. Okay, I've heard that in this podcast already. I'm hearing that on my timeline. That's not true. What we found is a lead. That's it.
Yeah, he presented information on his stream.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. And it's worth. And there, like again, there could be something here. Bingo. I'll talk to you later, guys.
Okay.
All
See ya.
right, see you later, man.
It's more fun to say it's definitive, though. So.
Well, I hear. I hear this story and it lines up pretty obvious for me, but I mean, I'm still I'm not just gonna be like, closed minded.
Yeah, you can't like take everything at face value and follow everything blindly. But I mean, I don't really think Mr. Medicare's at fault for like, making those satirical jabs or whatever. I think he was just like presenting that. He was like, yo guys, I found this crazy shit.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. Here's my opinion. That's it. Like, I don't think it's like deceptive or anything along those lines. It's just him displaying the information.
I'm curious. I think what Tommy's like main issue is with the Satan.
RFC After Hours is a live trending issues and entertainment broadcast with co-host Bowblax, broadcasted every weekday, Monday through Friday, starting at 6:30 p.m. Central. The show is for entertainment purposes only. All chat messages and donations read are the words of the original messenger, and certain viewpoints expressed do not reflect that of myself or Bowblax.